a mid-engine Italian wedge design paired with affordable American muscle. The Tomaso Pantera offered exotic performance without the traditional entry fee. It could hit 60 miles per hour in 5.5 seconds, and unlike its rivals, the engine actually turned over when you tried to start it on a cold morning. In the early 1970s, parking a Ferrari Daytona in your garage required upwards of $25,000. A Lamborghini Miura demanded a similar ransom. The V12 supercar market was a highly exclusive, highly temperamental club. Then, De Tomaso introduced the Pantera for around $10,000, less than half the price of the Italian establishment. That massive price gap birthed an enduring reputation for the Pantera as the affordable supercar, a way for the pragmatic enthusiast to bypass the gatekeepers of the exotic market. Ford Motor Company leaned into that reputation by selling this imported exotic directly through their Lincoln Mercury dealerships. Buyers walked in expecting the soft ride of a Continental Mark IV and found themselves staring at a waist-high, raw, track-focused machine. The primary draw for those buyers was the engine. It promised a way to avoid the maintenance schedules of delicate, multi-cam Italian V12s. This comparison shows a clear divide. While a Ford engine rebuild costs a fraction of the Ferraris, chassis repair data is harder to quantify. Sizing up a car exclusively on its engine block hides the vulnerabilities of the overall architecture wrapped around it. Relying solely on the V8's simplicity creates a blind spot. It overlooks the vehicle's complex Italian unibody, where the most significant long-term liabilities actually live. The architect of this cross-continental alliance, Alejandro de Tomaso, focused on sourcing mechanical components he didn't have to constantly fix. He chose the Ford 351 Cleveland V8, a heavy, durable cast-iron block produced by the hundreds of thousands in Detroit. Today, that means you can source replacement parts for pennies at a local auto store and perform the maintenance in your own driveway. But there is a mechanical caveat. That American block is bolted directly to a rare, German-built ZF 5-speed transaxle. If that gearbox fails, you are paying exotic-level prices to replace or rebuild it. Even with the American engine, early models could be temperamental. Elvis Presley famously shot his yellow Pantera with a revolver when it refused to start. If the transaxle cracks, the repair invoice instantly wipes out every dollar saved by having a Ford engine. Evaluating the vehicle's health starts with its steel monocoque unibody, providing excellent high-speed rigidity. But without 1970s factory rust-proofing, buyers must inspect hidden areas. The rear shock towers and floor pans are critical failure points. Unseen moisture seeps into raw steel joints, rapidly blooming into deep corrosion. This compromises the structural integrity, making the car dangerous at high speeds. Fixing that level of rot requires a bare metal restoration, which routinely exceeds $80,000. In the Pantera market, there is no such thing as a low-budget project. Structural rust effectively writes off the entire vehicle. Moving to the cabin, the packaging makes the car physically uncomfortable. Prioritizing double wishbone suspension forced the front wheel arches deep into the driver's footwell. This shoves the pedals severely to the right, forcing you to sit angled toward the center console. The physical limits are strict. If you are over 6 feet tall, you cannot fit inside without cutting and dropping the factory floor pans. Add in the heavy manual steering and a stiff clutch, and low-speed city driving becomes a physical chore. The Pantera filters out casual drivers. It is a raw, demanding machine that requires immense effort to master. Even if you fit the car, you have to navigate a deeply fragmented market. Not all Panteras offer the same performance. Take the 1974 US market GTS. It gained wide wheel arches and a blacked-out hood to meet aesthetic demands, but it also added heavy hydraulic rubber safety bumpers. Underneath, emissions rules choked the engine down to an 8.6-to-1 compression ratio, leaving it with only 266 horsepower. Compare that to the true European GTS, which was built as a homologation car for Group 3 racing. That version delivers a massive performance delta. You get an 11.0-to-1 compression ratio, pushing 345 horsepower, paired with upgraded brakes. Collectors must rigorously check VINs and factory specifications. Buying a cosmetically disguised US GTS means accepting a steep performance downgrade from the true European car. To figure out exactly where you stand, look at this chart mapping driver height against your budget and appetite for restoration. Up in the top left is the avoid profile. If you are over 6'2", seek modern comfort, or are tempted by a low-budget project car, this is not the right investment. The ideal match sits in the bottom right, the purist under 6 feet tall, who demands raw feedback and prioritizes a matching numbers vehicle. If you fit that profile, your money should route directly toward a documented, rust-free European specification GTS or an early Lusso. The Pantera really is a standout blue-collar exotic, but it only works if you understand the golden rule of this market. The most expensive Pantera you can ever buy is a cheap one.